Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Today we are going to be talking about no-code automations for SMEs. So yeah, to start off with, I think that the reason this has sort of come about is that we've had quite a few conversations with our customers recently about automation and how they can implement automation in their businesses. So off the back of those conversations we've been having, we thought we'll do a webinar and just show people what is possible. I think that's the first part of understanding what can be automated, is just getting a bit of understanding about what can be done. So the purpose of today is really to give people understanding about the type of sort of no-code automation, like platforms that are out there, what can be achieved by using them, and give some real-world examples about how what people are already doing and what they're already automating. So here's the agenda for today. Like I say, I'll open it up. I'll talk about the problem, talk about why people might want to automate, talk about an introduction as to the tools that you can use to automate, give some real world examples, and then I'll start talking as well about the strategies and best practices for how to go about automating some of these things yourselves, because it's not actually super straightforward. I think we'll touch on it when we get there, but I think the more difficult thing sometimes is actually working out what should be automated rather than how to do it. So, oh wow, look at that lovely picture of me. So, with longer hair. So, I am James Moore, for anyone that doesn't know. I'm Managing Director of Genmar IT. 15 years of IT experience. I love automation junkie, it says there, but I've been doing automation for years, both personally and at work. So yeah, plenty of experience with doing this. For anyone that doesn't know Genmar, we're an IT company, IT support consultancy company based in Bishop Stortford. We've been running almost 30 years now. We look after 150 or so businesses that look after their IT. So yeah, talking about why people might want to start automating things in the business. This is a bit of a scary stat that I found in the run up to doing this webinar, is that for the survey that was completed last year or the year before, 40% of SMEs employees' time is spent on repetitive tasks. And really, when we're talking about automation, that's the tasks that we are looking to automate away. The sort of dynamic tasks which change every single time you do it, those are going to be the ones that's going to be more difficult to automate away. But the things where you're doing the same repetitive tasks over and over again, those are sort of the low-hanging fruit when it comes to automation. So yeah, seeing that 40% of what people are doing on average and SMEs effectively can be automated, and if you work out that, roughly speaking, like an average salary cost of someone doing this work might be £15 an hour. That means you're looking at about £12,000 a year per employee that could be automated. So obviously scaling that up shows you why people are really interested in doing automation. The common reasons why people want to automate, I think, or the pain points that people have by not automating, is data is in separate locations. So you've got some data living in your CRM, you've got some data living in an Excel sheet somewhere else, maybe something on paper, some of it's in your emails. Getting all that data to sort of sync up in a nice way is a prime example of why people might want to use automation, like we're talking about today. Communication is a big one. So communicating with customers when something happens, communicating with something internally when something happens. You've got a scheduled thing that happens every time. Like a good example of this is always your new user onboarding process when you've got new staff joining your business. Who do you need to speak to? You need to speak to HR about getting them set up on their HR platform. You need to speak to IT to get a computer ordered for them and accounts created. You need to speak to accounts for start getting paid. That type of communication could all be automated off of a sort of workflow from when a new person starts. Same thing with reporting, and it comes back to the data being in different places, being sort of siloed out. So if your data is all connected and synced up, that makes reporting a lot easier. You're not having to pull data from one system and compare it to something else manually. You can do that using automation as well. And then obviously the administrative overhead, the costs, and the value of having people do this work when you can automate it. The opportunity we talked about before, 16 hours per week on average is the time that people are spending on tasks that could be automated in SMEs. So if you were to free up those people's times, maybe that's an opportunity for growth in the business, more time spent on strategy and sales, better customer experience because you're responding to people faster, fewer errors. Obviously, operational costs reduce if you're not having to, hire as many people potentially, and scaling becomes a lot easier when this is all automated. And I think one key thing here, which I didn't write on the slide actually, is about the AI tools that exist now. I think automation's been around for a really long time. In fact, me at Genmar, we've been speaking to people for 10 years ago about doing automation before ChatGPT and things like that even existed. But I think what's really important to note is that since the rise of AI tools like ChatGPT and Copilot and things, it really accelerated what can be done using automation. So before it was all fairly static to say, when this thing happens, do this, this, and this. Well, now you've got this really interesting layer of being able to say, when this thing happens, speak to an intelligent AI agent that can make decisions or draft text or whatever it's going to be, and then off the back of that, do further actions. So I think it's really opened up more possibilities about what can be automated and the quality of what can be automated as well. And that'll be part of what we talk about today, is how we embed some of that AI tool set into the automations that we're talking about. And yeah, talking of which, so this is the sort of toolkit that we want to go through today. So these 4 tools here, I would say, are the building blocks upon how SMEs can build out their own automations. So we've got N8N, OpenAI, Power Automate, and Copilot. So N8N is a nice, easy to use visual workflow builder that allows you to sort of drag and drop triggers and actions onto the page. And I'll go into it in more detail when I show you some of the actual like real life workflows. But yeah, it allows you to sort of just drag and drop, no coding required. OpenAI is the sort of mothership of ChatGPT. So that's really the AI abilities of ChatGPT that you can build into some of these workflows as well. Power Automate is Microsoft's visual integration workflow builder. So very similar to N8N, but has built-in Office capabilities. And then Copilot is Microsoft's sort of AI agent capabilities that we can build into there as well. So running through them real quickly, like I said, N8N, visual workflow builder. There's a screenshot of it. You drag and drop items in and build out your own workflows. It's got integrations with 200 plus apps. There's a free tier available to it, so it's not necessarily expensive. And even the paid for tiers is only, I don't know, 10, 15 pounds a month or so. OpenAI that we talked about, it's basically, most people have interacted with OpenAI using ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is the chat functionality of OpenAI. OpenAI is sort of the behind the scenes AI agent as part of it. So you can use this for doing text reasoning. So you can ask it a question, it'll respond with an answer. You can process documents with it. You can create images and videos and music and all sorts of things with it. And you can build these into these workflows we're going to talk about. Power Automate is, the Microsoft visualized flow designer tool that again allows you to drag and drop elements in, so a trigger and then some actions, but it's baked into Microsoft, so it integrates with Office and 365 and Teams and Copilot. So really handy tool if you're already in, which most businesses are, in that Microsoft ecosystem, having it embedded in, so it's already got access to your data and your emails and your chats and things, really makes it much more of a streamlined experience to use it. I think my comparison between this and N8N, because they are fairly similar products, and my comparison is N8N is probably an easier jump-in point. It's a bit easier to first start using, a bit less complex, but you can probably get more done with Power Automate than you can with N8N. But both both serve a purpose. The other thing is you don't necessarily have to choose one or the other. The good thing is they can sort of work in harmony as well. You can have a flow that potentially like starts in N8N and then passes off some of the actions to in Power Automate as well. The other thing Power Automate is that the licenses for Power Automate is included in your 365 subscription. So if you're already a 365 customer, which most people are, there's not an additional cost. There's a slight caveat to that for certain premium connectors and things, but for the most part, it's free. And the last thing is Microsoft Copilot. So Copilot is Microsoft's new like AI agent. You'll see it being advertised a lot in all Microsoft sort of product suites. It has what most people have seen about it so far is the sort of integration into a lot of the Office apps. So in Word and Excel and PowerPoint and Outlook, you can click the Copilot button, have it draft you emails or summarize text and things. That's sort of one part of it. The other part of it is the sort of Copilot Studio, which is a bit I'll be going into a little bit of detail on today, which is about how you can create your own agents, your own sort of AI Copilot agents that you can then bake into some of these flows and things we're talking about as well. There's so much to go through with Copilot. We'll actually be doing a second webinar following this one just to really focus down on Copilot Studio and the agents and things on there as well. Yeah, I don't want to go into too much detail, but those are the 4 products that we're going to be touching on today. High-level overview of them. I think the next best thing is to show some examples. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. What I've done for these examples is I've created a couple of examples making up a sort of made-up company. So my company name is called Petal and Stem, and we're a florist. I thought I'd basically pick a sort of small business idea, and we can run some workflows and things off of that to show like here are some example things that a business might be doing and potentially how we can automate some of those processes out. So the first one I wanted to show, I'll just share my screen. Hopefully you can see that now. So this is N8N. So this is the dashboard for N8N on the flow that I've created. So I'll show you kind of what this flow here is doing. So like I say, N8N is sort of visual designer that you can build your own workflows in. So all of these here are just drag and drop elements that we can sort of pop in to create our workflows. So how this flow here is working is effectively this is going to be a flow to request customer feedback from a client who's ordered some flowers from our florists. So the way that this flow is actually working is the first thing here, the trigger. So the trigger for all of these flows is always going to be how these start. You define a trigger. So that trigger might be when an email is received or a text is received or someone's filled out a form on your website. This example trigger is actually just a schedule trigger. So what this is doing is every day, this is every day this triggers at 9 a.m. So that's a trigger for this flow. The next thing it does is it looks up an Excel file. So there's an Excel file that we have saved, which is this Excel file just here. It's my little example one. And all this Excel file has in it is some orders that have been made to my florist, my made up florists. So you'll see here there's 4 orders. They've got order numbers, they've got names, who's ordered them, the email address of the person that's ordered them, the type of order it was, and the date. So what this flow is doing is looking up that Excel sheet. Just test that now so we can see it. So it looks up the Excel sheet and it pulls that data back from the Excel sheet. So it says, here are the 4 orders from your Excel sheet. So that's cool. So now my flow is aware of the orders that my florist has made. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to email the person that's ordered in the last 24 hours to say, hey, thanks for your order. Can you fill out a customer feedback survey for us? So to do that, I'm going to first work out to filter by the date. So we don't want to email everyone, all 4 people every day, because otherwise we're just going to keep emailing them over and over again with a survey. So the first thing we're going to do is work out today's date. So you add an action that's called get current date. You then minus 24 hours from that date, the output of which is going to be yesterday. you then do an if filter on here, which is effectively saying, let me just test this so you can see it. It's basically saying if the date from the Excel sheet is equal or after to yesterday's date, then do the next action. The next action on there is send the email. So that's how we get to the last action, which is send email. So you'll see here for that test I've just run, for those 4 items on that Excel sheet, 3 of them have been marked as no, so false on this. Let me just zoom in a little bit so you can see it. 3 false, 1 true. That's because when I run that test, there's only 1 item from that Excel sheet, which is in the last 24 hours. Which you can see again here is that's this one. These other ones are past 24 hours. So that's all this has done so far is it's gone to Excel, pulled those 4 orders down, and I've done a quick if to just say, look through those 4 orders and tell me how many of them are in the last 24 hours. It's told me this one is in the last 24 hours. So then what we're going to do is send an email to them. So I've got an email action here, which literally just says, send an email to, and this is the cool thing, right? So now we've got the data, we know the orders, we know the person that ordered them. We're saying, send an email to the person that first filled out, the person on the order sheet. So it's saying, look at the data from the Excel sheet, that email address that's on that order, that's who we're going to send this email to. Subject, just put in here, feedback from your recent purchase with petal and stem. And then the message, which is, thanks for ordering from us, fill out my form. I made a quick Microsoft form. It just says, give me some feedback on your order. And I'll send it out to the person so we can test all of this in a nice little visual way. So if I hit test workflow, you'll see it actually flow through this flow. Just do that now. Ding, 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 done. And what I should do is receive an email any moment now. So here's my email. Thanks for ordering from Petal and Stem. Feedback's important to us. Please fill out my survey. So it's a simple little thing, but you can see there how if that was part of someone's job already to do that, to find who recently placed orders and follow up with their survey email, that's never going to have to happen again. You know, you've automated that forever now. And one thing I was going to show as part of this is, you know, we're looking at this email that we've received. You know, looks a little bit boring. It looks a little bit like it's an automated email. So one thing that we can do, and this is what I was talking about, that AI abilities now that sort of ChatGPT and OpenAI and Copilot things exist, we can use that AI to sort of personalize the emails that are going out to people. So it doesn't have to be the exact same email that's going out every time. So what I'll do is actually just do that now or in the webinar together. So I'll show you how N8M works. So what we'll do is add another action between the filter statement and the email. What we're going to do is we're going to add another action for OpenAI. And we're going to have this as message and model. And basically what we're saying here is we want to message an OpenAI model. We're going to use, you can use any of the models. I'm just going to use 4.0. These are the sort of ChatGPT models. And really what we're saying here is, just like using ChatGPT or Copilot or whatever AI agents you've used in the past, we're going to send a message to that agent and then just record its result, its feedback from that message. Just to speed things up a little bit, I have pre-made what I'm going to type in here. I'll go through it with us. Just so the message that we're going to send to OpenAI is, write me an email to, and this variable here is going to be the email address, or sorry, the person's name. And you can see what it's doing here on the green here. So it's saying, write me an email to James Moore, ask them to follow a link to this link here that I've made, my forms link, to provide feedback on their recent purchase, and then in brackets is the type of purchase they made. And then format the email using HTML, sign off the message with Susan Rose as my made-up florist's name. And the reason we're doing this is now we're going to have a different message every time this email goes out. So it's not going to be that same template email every time. And in fact, we can actually even tailor the message to the type of order that they made. So now it's not only is it going to say, "Hi, James Moore" at the start of it, but it's also going to talk about the fact that it was an order for wedding flowers instead of, something else. So it feels a bit more tailored. And obviously, if you had more data, this is all being kicked off from an Excel sheet we had of orders, but you could see how if you were to integrate this with something like a CRM, and you had much more data in there about how often they've ordered with you in the past, or what type of orders they have, or which area they're in, or whatever it is, you could feed more information into this to really produce a very customized, personalized message. So if I just test that quickly. You'll see it responds with a "Dear James Moore, we hope blah, 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 blah." So that looks good. So then if I just close out of that and save it, give it a quick test. Oh, actually, sorry, before I do that, I need to update my email action. So instead of it's going to send that default text that we've written, it's going to send the content of the response from OpenAI. So you'll see here, this is the content. So this is its response to my question. I pop that in there. And then I'll just test the whole workflow again. So you see it takes a little bit longer now because in the middle it's now going to OpenAI and asking it to make that response, which it did. It then sent that response back to my email action. And then I should receive an email, which looks like I did. There we go. So now I've got a more personalized message that's been created by the AI. So instead of it just being a boilerplate message that goes to everyone every time, this is now, let's put some more detail in there. Delighted with your recent purchase for wedding flowers. Yeah, here's the form. Look, even there, thank you for your using us on your special day. So you see, that's the kind of stuff that you'll get added in there because it mentioned that it was wedding flowers. If you put in funeral flowers or something, it would, give you a different feedback on that. Yeah, so that's a very brief overview of N8N. I think, like I say, the reason I like N8N is that it's nice and visual, it's drag and drop, it's quite easy, as a jump-in point to start using it. And it provides good feedback if you're doing something wrong. It's quite good at showing you an error message and saying, hold on a second, you've done something wrong here, and it allows you to sort of work out on your own. It's got a nice AI agent thing as well, which you can click on to ask questions to if you're having problems with error messages or something. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. And there are people out there, and I've actually done some of these myself, that have created incredibly long and complex workflows in N8N. You really can do a lot with these, very customizable. So yeah, that's N8N effectively. The next one I wanted to show you was Power Automate. Well, actually, while I'm doing this as well, while I get my Power Automate up stuff, we do have a Q&A section on the webinar. So if anyone's got any questions, just pop them in there. Ellis is in the call, so he can answer any questions while I'm going, or if there's anything that I need to show on the screen, I'll show it as well. So yeah, don't worry about waiting till the end. If anyone's got any questions, just chuck them straight into Q&A, because if it's about something that I'm showing at the time, I might be able to show it live while I'm here. So yeah, if anyone has any questions about N8N, for instance, chuck it in now before I go into Power Automate. But yeah, I think it's a really cool tool. And I think for someone that's just starting their journey of automation, they want to play around with some tools, I think N8N's a really good one. There's also another one, which I'm not going to go into today, but Zapier is one that a lot of people have used. Very similar to N8N. Those two are very comparable products. And I think It's really much for much. I've used both. I like them both. They both work really well. I prefer NAN over Zapier. I just think it's a bit easier to use, a bit more functionality in it. But yeah, that's that. I'll close these down. Dunk. Right. So now, Power Automate. So Power Automate is, like I say, like NAN, like what I just showed you, and you can see on the screen here, it looks fairly similar in the sense that it's a drag and drop workflow builder where we add in a trigger, we add in action items, and then off the back of that, we add actions. I think the difference, the thing that makes Power Automate better in some ways, is that it is made by Microsoft. It's been a tool that's been around for a long time. I've been using it personally for I think 10 years or so. It's been around for a long time, and it's built into the Microsoft ecosystem. So you've got straight ready access to Teams, Outlook, SharePoint, OneDrive, all of the Microsoft sort of ecosystem of things. Plus, it also has, like NAN, the ability to connect with third-party applications. So if you're using Xero for your accounting, for instance, there's an integration into that. So you could run an action here that says pull my last 10 invoices from Xero, and that could be one of the actions you put in here. Or if you're using HubSpot as your CRM, you could pull it into this. And that's the same with NAN and Power Automate. But like I say, the difference Power Automate is you also, on top of all of that, you also get that real connection into the Microsoft ecosystem that's not so readily accessible from NAN. And I would say the only drawback of Power Automate is that it's slightly more complicated to use than NAN. But I think more powerful. There's more that you can do there. You can build out some real sort of enterprise business class workflows and things in here. And now that you've got Copilot, which I'll touch at the end of this, Copilot sort of feeds in to Power Automate. So Copilot's like the sort of chat AI interface of Microsoft. So you can have like a chat bot that you can speak to do certain things. So you could speak to it and say, get me this data from SharePoint, for instance, tell me, summarize the last meeting I had with this person, which is already a built-in feature of Copilot for Microsoft. But then you can build out with Copilot and Power Automate to say, not only go and get me this information, but you can now actually build out workflows in Power Automate that you can then trigger and use through an agent using Copilot. So you can say, hi, Copilot agent, send an email to this person using this flow that I've created, which pulls data down from Xero or whatever it is. So yeah, they sort of go together, they integrate into each other. I want to show you this example demo that I've created on Power Automate. So this one, the trigger on this one is an email is received. I'll open this up. So I got the trigger to be an email's received to my demo account, which is copilotdemo@genmar.co.uk. And then this is where we get quite fancy with it. So the next step is that it uses the AI agent to detect the type of email that's been received. So I want to dig into this because this is the main part of this flow. And I think something that's really quite powerful is this sort of AI capability as part of Power Automate and the sort of Microsoft ecosystem. So what we've done here, this classify email, is an AI model that we've created over here. If it decides to load, yeah, here we go. So in the sort of Power Apps AI builder, which again is part of this Microsoft sort of Copilot AI Power Automate ecosystem, I've created a model. So to do this, you literally just go into the Power Apps AI builder, select make a model, you get to this page. I've given it some data. So the data that I'm giving it is effectively examples of the types of emails that might be received to this mailbox. So we're imagining that this is this is sort of going to be the info at mailbox for my floristry. So this is the email that might be on the website for my florist business. So they receive all different types of emails coming to their business. They get emails to say, we need a table arrangement for a wedding in August. I want to cancel my flower subscription. Do you offer setup services for weddings? Looking at florists for our engagement party. So these are all the types of emails that this business might receive. And then what we're doing is we're going to categorize those emails. So the categories we've created are events, support, other, and order. We then go through those types of those demo example emails that we received, and we're just going to tag each one. So I've tagged them all to say, right, this one here, we need table arrangements for a wedding in August. Are you available? That's events. So this is manual. So I've gone through manually and added all of these. There's about 30 or so in there. Obviously, I made these all up, but in the real world, you'd be doing this for your business. Look at 30 emails that are being received to a specific mailbox and go in there and say, that's a support one, that's a sales one, whatever it is, and tagging them all. So tag that support, this one here, my flowers are received, but they're wilted. Can I get a replacement? That's support. Just go through them all, tag them all up. And then at the end, once you're done with that tagging, we can then train. So when we hit the train button, we're effectively training our own AI model to understand, when I receive these emails, I now know what category they are. So when I receive an email saying that my flowers have wilted, I know that's a support message as opposed to an events message. And what's really cool here is you're not relying on open data, data that already exists in the world, like ChatGPT, for instance. You can put in here incredibly specific data about your business that no one else is going to know. So if you receive an email that says, if you, I don't know, working at a sort of financial business and someone says, I need my code, whatever document, you can put in there to say, oh, if they mention that code number, that means it's going to be this type of email. So once you've then trained your model and it's ready to then use in Power Automate. So I've done that before because it takes a little while to finish the trading. So I've already done that. So that's where we get to where we are now. So that's where we get to here. So that's what my flow does. So the email is received. It then passes the data from that email. So that the message of the email goes into my sort of classifier AI model that we've created. And then it switches it out. So we've got the 4 options here that we made earlier. So we've got support, events, order, other, and default is basically, if for whatever reason it doesn't match any of the categories that we've created, do this instead. So just as a little example here, I've created 2 sort of action flows off the back of these. So we've got support and events. So support, so if you remember, one of the examples for support was my flowers have wilted, for instance. What I'll do, so it's going, if it goes to support, then do this. It's then going to email the person that first emailed back to say, thanks for your email. We pass this to the support team and someone will get back to you soon. And it's then going to send an email to the support team. In my case, I've just put me in, but obviously you could send that to Bob, who's the support person who looks after support for the flowers, to say, hi, Bob, you got an email from this person saying their flowers have wilted. So we're sort of filtering out the emails that go to certain parts of the business, because I thought this is a good example because I actually have this in my business. We have an email at Genmar email address, and we receive things in there. People are asking for quotes. People are emailing saying the computer's broken. Sales emails come into there. People trying to sell us stuff, and we used to manually go through that, but now I've got something similar that does it for us, where it sort of fires out the emails to different parts of the business based on what the content of the email was. But I'll show you that working now. So if I hit test on this, I do manual. So if I write an email to that demo account, hello, I received some wilted flowers from you. They were wilted when They arrived! Exclamation point. So it doesn't matter, like the text doesn't have to match up exactly to what we train the AI model on. This is a good thing about using AI models, is that it's learnt the type of messages that it should receive. So it should understand that this is a support message. That's the great thing about testing things live in webinars with using AI. So hopefully it will it will work as it did in the test I did before this. It will take a minute or so for that email to go into Power Automate and be triggered, and then show the results on the screen. But what we are looking to receive here is, like we saw in that flow, what it should do is send an email back to me to say thank you for your email. So you see here it's showing me this is the results of what's happened. So that email was received. And you can see here the tick marks. So it understood correctly on the switch that was a support email. So it wasn't an events email or orders or other. It knew that was a support email. So it sent an email to the person that sent the email to start with, the recipient, the sender, to say, thank you for emailing us. We've sent this to support. And it sent a support follow-up email to their support team, which I should have. Yeah, so there you go. I got both of them because I'm both support and the person sent the email. So that's cool. That's working. That's great. What else can we do? Events. So if we looked at that training model we created, the events were things like, I need some flowers for my wedding that I'm planning, or I'm organizing the thing for a funeral. I need some flowers for it. What can we do? Once the flow is correctly identified that it's for an events, it's an event type email. What should it do? I don't run a florist, so I don't really know exactly what they would be doing, but this is what I would do if I run a florist. Is I would use AI to start with to draft an email to that person. And here's how I'm going to do that. So similar to what we did last time, and again using sort of OpenAI, or actually this is Microsoft's AI, which actually uses OpenAI stuff in the background. If it eventually decides to load, it will, we're basically going to ask it, similar to last time, to draft an email to this person. So there we go. So the instruction is, write a professional email reply to this person, begin with hello, asking them to respond to the event booking. So my floristry has got an event booking page. And we're going to attach our brochure with all our event information on it. Don't answer any questions you don't know the answers to. It's things like this you're going to be careful with AI, because sometimes, I don't know if you've ever used it before, but it sort of hallucinates and might give answers to people that it doesn't know the answers to. So if someone emails to say, hi, when are you open on what days, times and open things do you have, they might respond. So you got to either give it the information or tell it not to answer if it doesn't know the information. Format the email as HTML, sign off again as my Susan Rose, and then I give it the information that it needs to produce it, which is the original email that was received from this person. I want to attach my brochure, which has got all of my floristry information on. Brochure is on the internet, so it's going to download that brochure, ready to attach it. And then it's going to prepare the email. This is what I mean about Power Automate being a little bit more complex than NAN. In order to attach things to emails in Power Automate, you've got to sort of convert it using this function. So we're going to convert it so it's ready to be attached to an email. And then we're going to send an email to the person that originally emailed to say, effectively, yeah, thanks for your email. I know this is an events type email, so I'm responding to you with the events information, my brochure to give you the information about events, and the link to book in a meeting to talk about events. So let's do it. Let's test it. So let's go send another test email to my demo account. Which, oh, there you go. Hello, I am getting married next week. Can you supply the flowers for my wedding? A bit last minute. Let's send that off. So talking about what it should do in the flow in the background. So what it should be doing now is receiving the email. That should trigger the flow, because that's our trigger. It will then use our AI learnt model to understand the message of that email, understand what category it is, hopefully understand, because it's talking about a wedding and that's an event, that's an event type message. And then it will speak to the AI agent that we've asked for that prompt to basically draft a response email back to say, thanks for your email. Look at that. So it's done it. So it correctly identified that it's an event type email. It's used the AI model. It's downloaded the brochure and it's sent the email back. So I should look at that. Hello, thanks for reaching out. Congratulations on your upcoming wedding. For more information for your event, please book on our event booking page. I've attached event PDF, so it's got the PDF on there. Susan Rose. So you can see how if you sort of scale this up, that combination of being able to like automatically flow through actions based on triggers and sort of predefined options, but adding those AI elements in there, like the AI model, which is intelligently choosing which category of email it is, and the AI model, which we're asking for it to draft emails to, it really opens up and expands what's possible in terms of automation for businesses. So yeah, that's my real life demos done. Let me just share my PowerPoint again quickly. Perfect. So yeah, hopefully it's given you a bit of a flavor as to the types of things you can achieve with workflows. Obviously, there are so much more things that you can do. There's so many more actions I haven't got into. There's so much more complex things that you can do. I mean, realistically speaking, almost anything is possible to automate using these tools. Some things are slightly more complex than others. Some things are really easy to automate. I think if you stick to sending and receiving emails and doing that sort of basic communication stuff, anyone can jump straight into these tools and just do that. You know, if the integration already exists with your CRM, your HubSpot, your Zeros, your whatever it's going to be, that's also nice and straightforward. Again, all drag and drop, and you can just do it. So the next things really is to start thinking about your business and start thinking about what tasks are being done in your business that could be automated. Think about repetitive tasks. Think about small tasks probably to start with. Things that maximize return on investment. So things you do regularly are probably the ones that focus on them, because the more time spent, the more return on investment you're going to have. Think about low risk tasks. So the workflows I just showed had no human approval as part of them. You can do that. So a lot of people do that, especially when you first start in these, is have it so that before those emails are being sent, it first triggers a human to validate and approve it before it goes out. But high risk activities, you might want to do those last and focus on things that are going to have less risk as part of this automation. Yeah, to get started, I'd say that the sort of flow for people to, I say flow, I mean workflow mode, the list of actions to take after this would be put an audit together of the biggest sort of time wasting tasks that your business is doing. Again, think about repetitive things you do often and things that are sort of low risk. Build out your first automation with a small low risk flow in Power Automate or N8N. Test that, make sure it's working, run it again, maybe build in some steps as part of that flow so it goes to a human so they can check it before it goes out. If that all works, then keep going, automate another one, scale that first one you up so it includes more tasks. tweak it, make them better. That's the great thing about doing the automations is if you don't like maybe you're getting feedback on the emails you're sending out that people don't understand it or they're not following the right links or whatever. Instead of having to train a team to make different emails, you just change the flow that you've got, make it better each time. As part of this webinar, I'll be sending out some PDFs that I've created that have got some examples of things that some businesses work with us to automate out, as well as some small tutorials about NAN and Power Automate and how to first get started, with some links to some training material that Microsoft and NAN have got about getting started as well. As well as, yeah, like I say, that list of, like I said, the first thing you'd be trying to do is just working out what can be automated. So I've tried to put some stuff together in a PDF that I'll send over that shows some of the common starting places to automate out. That's it. We have reached the 45-minute mark, just gone over, actually. Thank you everyone for joining. There's no questions in the Q&A section, so if anyone does have any questions, please ask now.
You've got one from Lucy here, James.
Oh, do we?
Yeah, I don't know if you can see it, but so Lucy's asked, very interesting one actually. I don't know the answer. When you're using third-party sites as part of your flow, if they're gated by like password protection or they require authentication, is there a way to still get past that with any of the tools that we've demoed today?
That's a really good question, actually. Yeah, so I guess it comes into the sort of integration part of how things like Power Automate and NAN work. So if that third-party tool, let's use HubSpot as an example, for instance, you need to log into HubSpot in order to get the data out. It's not publicly available data that you got saved in there. If that tool has an integration with Power Automate or NAN, and let me show you what that might look like. So if I add another action here, I think HubSpot's got one for Power Automate. Yeah. So I'm not sharing my screen. Let me share my screen. So hopefully you can see that. Let me just do what I did again to get there. Yeah, so if you're using a tool which has an inbuilt integration into Power Automate or NAN, which a lot of the bigger tools do, you'll see it in the list. So you can just go to like HubSpot, for instance, and you'll see all the actions that you can take in HubSpot as part of here. So you can pull files out, you can search for contacts and products and things. If you were to do that, you would first need to sign in. I haven't got a HubSpot account that can do this right now, but you'd sign in on the workflow page, authenticating your workflow to access that data. So that will allow you then to pull records and things down from HubSpot. If the tool that you're using doesn't have an integration with Power Automate or NAN, so if you're going to here and you're going to search for your tool, I mean, let's have a look. Our ticketing system, for instance, is not here. Halo PSA, which is our ticketing platform, that doesn't exist. You then need to do that using API calls. So that's where things get a little bit more complex. It's not super complex, but effectively what you do is run a HTTP call. So I'll do that here. So you'd put in here the URL of the API server for your service you're using, the method you'd choose here as well, and in the headers you would add your sort of authentication details. Whatever tool it is that you're using, if they have open APIs, which again most big tools do, will publish a document that shows you how to enter the information into this page. So it will show you, this is the URL to put in, this is the method you use, this is the stuff you have to put in the headers. Once you've done that, you can then run that command from Power Automate and it will pull the data down from that third-party tool, which you can then use in the rest of the flow. So those are really the two ways to sort of authenticate for password protected sites. It'll either be an inbuilt integration into Power Automate, that's the easiest way, or an NAN. If that doesn't exist, then you have to use API calls, which is a little bit more complex. But once you've got your head around how to do this and reading the documents, you'll be away. And I think the last thing to touch on, I guess, here is that if anyone watching this wants to start doing some automation or has started but has problems with it, then reach out to us. We've got a lot of experience in doing this. Sometimes all you need is a little bit of help to get started, and then you can start doing it on your own steam. So if you've got a specific tool that you want to work with, maybe we can help you get that API call bit working so it can pull the data out, and then you can do the rest of the flow yourselves from there. Or if you've just got general questions about how to use Power Automate or N8N, just come and speak to us, find the contact details on the website, or if you just come and reach out to us, we'll give you a hand. We can either just give you some sort of consultation work with it, or we can run full projects and do the automation for you. So don't think there's any more questions, but thank you everyone for coming. Thanks for attending. So we run over time a little bit, but yeah, thank you very much. Talk to you all soon.